Coach, style of play for Oklahoma State and who are players to watch in their squad?
Uh, First of all, they're extremely well coached. Mike Boynton, I've always thought does a great job. He really does. I think their game plan is to get up as many threes as they can. The Javon Smalls kid, the point guard, uh, is their best player. Now they have a 6'11" freshman who I think is on the same path that JoJo Tugler's on. I think he's going to be dynamite. I mean, they've done an awesome job of building their roster with young kids, and they're letting them play. And this late in the year, their young kids are really playing well. But Smalls, then they have a kid that scored 2,000 points on the same night that Hunter Dickinson scored his 2,000 points at Kansas. Oklahoma State played there. So John Michael Wright, 2,000 point scorer, Javon Smalls. They've got a kid named Quincy Williams who's kind of a unicorn. He's a 6'5", 4-man, about 220. Not an outside shooter necessarily, but impacts the game with his athleticism, his effort, and his toughness. He had 17 and 10 Saturday against Kansas State. Then their size, 6'11" kid inside, Brandon Garrison, does a good job. They were playing the Keller kid, who's a freshman. They played him a lot. He had 12 points in their win against Kansas State, another three-point shooter athlete. So to answer the question, Chris, they spread you. They've got great movement on the weak side. Sometimes they'll feel behind the cutter. Sometimes the shooter will get we call it a Spanish screen, which is a flare screen on the sideline. So they run a lot of good motion. Sometimes it's to get a shot. Sometimes it's false. But well designed. They do a good job. I think, people have a tendency to look at a record or look at a moment and make a judgment on it. Now, they don't have a great record, but they were up 15 on TCU. They beat West Virginia. They beat Kansas State. They lost at the buzzer to Baylor, lost at the buzzer to TCU. They've had about 5 games that they could have won. They've only been beat one time, and that was at Kansas. That's the only time they've really been beat. They've been in the game with every team they play.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go to Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle next. Joseph, please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Joseph.
Kelvin, the day after, any update on how JVA was feeling?
Yeah, he's fine. He'll play.
He'll play. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Joseph. We'll go to Starnes Leland from the Cougar. Starnes, please go ahead.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
With Javier out on Saturday, and JoJo getting a lot of those minutes, how big was it for him just to have that kind of experience and that kind of environment, against that kind of team?
Well, he probably played 15 minutes too many. We felt one of the things that going in that were we, splitting those guys' minutes 18 to 22 with 2 guys versus their 1 guy, that we thought that could help us. But, JVA went down. JoJo had to play almost 34 minutes because we just don't have another size guy. So that really hurt us. But I think it was good for JoJo. Anything that he goes through this year is just an investment. But he did a lot of good things in there. Now he got fatigued. Timeouts were a little bit longer. So, but that, the whole thing was a great experience for him. But having JVA out certainly hurt us in that area.
We'll go to Greg Bailey with KTRK TV. Greg, please go ahead.
Kelvin, good morning. You guys have obviously done the quote-unquote quick turnaround from Saturday to Monday before. What role do your assistants play in that, and how quickly do you guys try to go through what happened at Kansas, and then look forward to whatever scouting reports you've got on the upcoming opponent?
I think we've done this once before this year, haven't we?
I think
Then we have a Saturday, Monday. Who was that against? I can't remember.
Coach, you're stumping me on that one. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Well, somebody, who was it, Matt?
We just
Talking
played
about Texas, Coach?
Saturday.
Where the hell is Matt on the African safari? I'm trying.
I'm on walkabout this morning, Coach. I'm on walkabout.
I keep thinking I'm gonna see a tiger, or a rhinoceros, or something running around. It was like, guys are going African safaris. They don't wear Titleist hat. I promise you that.
Well, there are 2 bald eagle families that live out here. I haven't seen a bald eagle yet today, Coach.
Yeah, I've been to Alaska a lot of times. I see a bald eagle a lot over there. But no, Greg, we had 31 regular season games, and I go down with the non-conference schedule was always completed first. So I tried to, personality-wise, maybe there's a backstory, maybe there's a connection, but I put a lot of thought into who I assign our assistant coaches, scouts. What particular school. Then when the conference schedule comes out, same thing. We obviously I have a great familiarity with all the schools, maybe not all the coaches, but KC had the Kansas scout. Kellen has the Oklahoma State scout. So that game, what time did the game? I can't remember. What time did the game start Saturday? Was that a 3 o'clock game?
3 o'clock.
Yeah, so 5 o'clock. We didn't get home till after 1 o'clock because our plane got delayed. We had to drive to Topeka and fly out of there. It wasn't too bad. I think it's only about 25, 30 miles, something like that. But once we got through the Kansas stuff, we started right in on Oklahoma State. We came in yesterday as a staff and met for about 3 hours, and quick turnaround. I don't dwell on the past. We had to start getting ready for a Oklahoma State team that's coming off a big win in home games. As far as what we want to accomplish. We're one of a bunch of schools that would like to win the conference championship. But to do that, you've got to win all your home games. So they're all the same to us. It doesn't matter whether we're playing Texas or Iowa State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, they're all the same. Those become big games. And Oklahoma State's got a good team. So all our focus went to them right away.
Thank you, Greg. We'll go to Matt Musil with KHOU. Matt, please go ahead.
Hey, Kelvin, I just wanted to ask you about going through this. You made a good point after the KU game. Both teams are 6-3. Got a lot of basketball left, but you are such a competitor. How much I know you've had, we lose Terrence along the way. Javier got hurt the other night. You say he'll be back, but how much do you love this competition? You must love this, don't you?
Yeah. You have to. It's a great learning experience when you can see. I said it before the game about Texas's fan base, and you guys have never coached or played, so you don't understand it at the level that I understand it, and the impact they have on the game. We were watching them beat Connecticut in that same building. Remember, against Connecticut, they didn't have Furphy. He didn't play. They were still basically looking for whoever they're going to play, and but sometimes you can wake up the monster, and not many times in that building has a higher ranked team come in there, and that's when you see them at their best. the Kansas we saw, it's like the people that don't really understand will say, well, West Virginia beat them or Central Florida beat them. Why didn't we beat them? Well, first of all, understand this. That wasn't the same team Central Florida played. That wasn't the same team, and they certainly wasn't the same environment. But you're right. You know, the fact that our kids had a shot to cut it to 10 around 8-minute mark shows you that we kept fighting. You know, the only game that I can remember that I would compare it to was the Villanova-Georgetown game in 1985 when Villanova didn't miss a shot, seems like. I think they were 22 for 27 from the floor. They went 22 for 27. Georgetown's got a great defense. They had a great defense. They were going for back-to-back national championships. It's hard to beat a team when they don't ever miss. But we kept fighting, you know, and but it's like I told our kids after the game, going into the game, we were 6-2. They were 5-3. Worst case scenario, we're going to come out of the game tied. So we're 6-3. Our goal is to be 7-3 now. And I'm sure that's Kansas's goal too. They won a big game. We lost. They move on. We move on. Everybody in the league's playing. You got to have a short memory in this business, and I do.
We'll go back to Joseph Duarte next. Please go ahead, Joseph.
Kelvin, without giving away secrets, if this question falls under that category, the after the game when we were talking with you outside the locker room, you mentioned, you know, the ability to get LJ some looks off of I think you call them booms. Yeah. Can you, in a layman's term, just kind of describe how that works in terms of what you were seeing differently, maybe in those situations that allowed them, whereas maybe that hadn't been the case, you know, previously?
No, that's a good question, Joseph. One of the things that we've always done pretty good offensively is know where our shots are coming from, so we can get in position to in case we miss them. You know, one of the things that we've struggled with offensively is having more than one guy shooting the ball well on the same night, which tells you how good our team has been because we haven't shot the ball well this year at all. You know, against Iowa State, we lose on the road by 2 or whatever it was. I think we had one guy shoot the ball that night, but we lose by 2. Texas A&M, we got up 20-something on them, but we had 2 or 3 guys shooting well, and that's how your offense looks good. You know, the 2 greatest plays I've ever seen was the ball going in the basket and the musical Oklahoma. Those are 2 great plays. But, you know, we just haven't had a lot of consistent shooting with our offense this year. It's kind of been spotty. But we've hung in there and put ourselves in a position to win a lot of games. But anytime we can get a 5-man to get some clearance, some separation before his man, instead of setting pick and rolls, LJ operates. When we throw it to the 5-man and he chases it and gets a pass back, he's usually got a little momentum to get downhill. And we found something in that Kansas game. We were getting good shots early. I mean, I don't know how you can get a better shot than the one that Jamal missed at the basket. I think it was a breakaway layup. We had a couple of those with some offensive rebounds. We didn't dagger, things like that. But utilizing the 5-man in space and letting LJ find room to operate. LJ's also gotten better at pick and rolls. You know, we late in the Texas game, I think the entire overtime, we had Jamal playing off the ball, mainly because of the way they were guarding him, but also it allowed LJ to get downhill. He got to the free throw line and had 2 big free throws in that. So, you know, you're always searching, you're always working, you're always fiddling, you're always trying to find a way to get better as the season goes on. So playing off those booms, I thought was good. We found something late in that game, and it certainly helped LJ and helped us.
We'll go to Chancellor Johnson, please. Chancellor, please go ahead.
Hey, Kelvin, how much of looking back after watching the tape was it, as you kind of said after the game, Kansas shot the piss out of the ball versus you guys just simply not executing and doing what you guys want to do defensively? How much of it was kind of on one hand making shots and then for you guys defensively?
What's the question?
Like how much was it them just making shots versus what you guys not executing? Like how
All
much would
of
you
it.
say was it?
All of it. All of it. You know, um, um, you're asking me to describe what a molecule is. You know, in basketball, when one team plays downhill and the other team plays uphill, it's a tough game. They were making some tough shots. We were missing some easy shots. We were having to make some tough shots, and they were missing some easy shots. So it goes both ways, you know. But you know, sometimes you can't look at a statistic. For instance, the rebounding total. What was the rebound? What day out rebound us by? When it like what was the rebounding number? I can't remember.
40, 24, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So what does that mean? They got to miss a shot for us to get a rebound, right? It's hard to get a rebound when we're getting it through the net. They made 70% of their shots. Some of them were tough shots, but they made them all. So there was no rebounds to get. But I thought JoJo and Jaywan pounded the boards. But that team has the best starting five in America. They're the best starting five in America. They've got probably one of the two best centers, one of the two or three best point guards, one of the two or three best wings. They probably got a perfect kid when he does come out, probably be a first-round draft choice. So there's no shame in losing to Kansas, fellas. There's nothing to talk about there. That's you're trying to, you know, there's nothing there. It's a nothing burger losing at Kansas. Everybody loses at Kansas. It's like hitting against who's the best? You guys remember Steve Carlton? Remember Greg Maddux? Barry Bonds could not hit Greg Maddux. Well, there's a reason why. There's certain teams. I mean, they're really, really good. I can name you a bunch of teams that have never beaten us over the years. When you're playing against a really, really good team, when you play against a really good team, it's hard to beat that team, especially when they are at the top of their game. And Bill said it after the game. It's the best we've played all year. There's probably there's not another team in America that could have beat them in that building on that day. So you move on. We got Oklahoma State Tuesday. We're going to have a great practice today and try to get ready for the Cowboys tomorrow night.
Thank you, Chancellor. We'll go to Dayon Dunlap, please. Dayon, please go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, Coach Sampson?
Dayon Dunlap, how's that little boy of yours?
Oh, man, he's getting bigger and bigger, man. He's doing well.
Enjoy him, man. They grow up fast.
Weeks ago, you talked about onus of you and the staff to kind of get Damian going in spots and areas where he likes the ball and can excel. What have you seen from him throughout play and
Yeah, no, that's you know what, I have to do a better job. You know, sometimes when a kid's not playing well, it's not always his fault. You know, sometimes the coach, whether he's got to trust him a little more, put him in a better position to succeed, something. So that's on me, man. I've got to. That's kind of on my to-do list here. Is I've got to do a better job. You know, a lot of times a kid's role is one that he's having a hard time adjusting to, but I've got to help him adjust. So, you know, and we need Damian. He's a guy that can help us. You know, we're not a great offensive team, so a guy that can score like him can certainly help us. And it's my responsibility to get him comfortable where he feels good about his role and going there. And he's had a number of games where he has. You know, I don't know that we win the BYU game on the road without Damian. You know, he had 14 2 Saturdays ago against or whenever that was against Kansas State. But you know, every team is different. the matchup's different. So, yeah, I got to do a better job with him.
We have time for one or two more questions. We'll go to Chris Gardner for one of them. Chris, go ahead, please.
Coach Big Cedric has not played basketball a long time in his young career. How is he progressing at UH in your opinion?
Yeah, we looked at Chris a lot. I'm sorry. We looked at Seth a lot like we did Chris Harris. Chris, we kind of go semester with our development with these kids. We saw Seth as a kid that wouldn't get any playing time at all, maybe in the first 2 years, which is 4 semesters. But we thought by his 5th semester, maybe even his 6th semester, he was going to develop. And the key is, at some point he'll help us here. And then his best basketball, though, will come after he leaves here. But you got 13 spots on your roster. You don't want 13 guys sitting over there with their mouths open wanting to be fed. You got to develop some guys. Like we've got 3 guys, we've got 10 guys on scholarship that can play. We got 3 guys that can't. Cordell Jefferson, Jacob McFarland, and Cedric Lott. And we're putting a lot of time and effort in those other kids. But Seth's such a great kid, easy kid to coach. Love being around him. He's just a sweetheart of a young man. I never met his mom and dad. They don't speak English, but you can tell he comes from a great family because of the kind of kid he is.
Time for one more question. We'll go to Randy McElvoy with KPRC TV. Randy, please go ahead.
Randy, are you on your way to pick up Matt?
Randy, we can't.
Matt's got one of those. Matt looks like one of them old guys that has one of those metal detectors out there looking for, trying to find a quarter or something. That's what you look like, Matt. Matt, we got a shot of Matt from his waist up. I'll bet you he's got one of those little metal detectors. He's looking for change, aren't you, Matt? show us that little metal detector you got down there, Matt. I know it's in your closet by your door. Go ahead, Randy.
Go ahead, Randy. We couldn't hear you earlier, so go ahead.
Hey.
Randy.
You got me now, guys?
Yeah, we're good.
You got me now, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, Kelvin, I wanted to ask, I know during the course of the season you reference your staff, and I know during the broadcast they always reference the quality staff you have, and just how much you guys during the course of preparations, and I mean, obviously the buck stops with you as the head coach, but can you just reflect a little bit on what that staff that you have means to you right now, and how much you guys lean on each other, and I know you respect a lot what they bring to the table for you.
Yeah, the staff's everything for me, Randy. If you look back at my entire career, one of my secret sauces is I've always had a great staff that I could trust. I think that's where it starts. Kellen was the first hire I made. Right after that was KC. Hollis was still coaching at the time with two of my all-time favorites is Eduardo Nahara and Hollis Price, and they were running the Dallas Mavericks G League team. And Hollis was involved with some other stuff. And I remember I was here and he called me and said, "Coach, what do you think about this?" I said, "I don't think much of it. Get your butt to Houston. I'm going to hire you. Come work for me. That's how we're going to get you started." So I've always tried to take care of my former players that wanted to get into coaching. And I have so many calls over the last seven or 8 years of former Houston high school players that went on and played with other coaches, other schools. And they're great guys. And I know, but I've always been loyal to my guys. If I don't hire my former players, who will? There were some guys here that played at Duke or Michigan or Arizona that was finishing up their careers and calling me wanting to get started here. But my thing was, you need to call your coach, because I've got players that played for me that want to get into coaching. It's like Mikael McLean. Mikhail McLean wanted it in coaching. Okay. I love Mikhail, his energy, his intelligence, his hunger. He was thirsty to get better. And we gave him a chance to start here as a grad assistant. Now he's doing a great job, as is Alvin Brooks. Let's give a shout out to Alvin Brooks and the job he's doing at Lamar. That's not an easy job, but I'm really, really proud of Alvin and Mikhail and that staff, especially Alvin, for getting that thing going. And it's only going to get better and better. So I'm really proud of Alvin and Mikhail. But then I brought in Hollis, and then we brought in Quanis. And we've been together for a long time. But all those guys are more than ready to be head coaches. The right opportunity has not shown itself for them. They've elected to stay here. They have great jobs, and they're doing a great job. I couldn't be more proud of our staff, and from top to bottom. And probably the person that is the eggs that make the cake stick together. You know how important an egg is, and when you're baking a cake. Well, all those ingredients have to work, but the eggs in our operation is Lauren. You know, how she keeps everybody focused on being a basketball coach. And she allows us to do that 12 months a year because she keeps us relevant, whether it's in her graphics, her marketing, promoting our program, working with our 50-50 club, working with our donors, taking care of our away tickets. I mean, she has so much on her plate that allows us to be basketball coaches. So, you know, from our video guy, Matt McDonald, who was a former manager, to my administrative assistant, who's a former manager, to Bobby Champagne, who does all of our internal operations, who's one of my former assistants at Washington State and Oklahoma. Everybody here's part of my family, man. You know, we all have a connection. I'm not against looking at somebody else's resume, but I like to take care of my own and give them the opportunity they deserve.